the story of when it all turned around for me. Now, Tanika from Brown's Automotive has asked me to tell this story. I've told this story a lot, and I figured you guys would be bored with hearing it again, but she has asked me to tell this story. And it's really a lesson of why ASTA and ASTA Expo is so important to me as a business owner. And the reality of it is, when I walked into my house and said to my wife, "I'm done," and she handed me that little flimsy, silly paper postcard for the ASTE Expo, it was like the stars aligning at the perfect time and the perfect place. And here's why. I was done. I was burnt out. I'd had all I could take, and what I was doing was not working, and I'd finally realized that. Now, what many of you don't know is at the same time, I had found Paul Danner, or Scanner Danner, right? And I was training in his technical expertise, trying to figure out, hey, how do I become the best technician? I was trying to make the business better with technical skills. Hate to tell you this, it doesn't work. You can't do it. It's not possible. You can be the best technician in the world and still not make money. So when I started Paul's material, something really interesting happened. And it's, the hunger and knowledge began to build, but the hunger and knowledge began to build because I went from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. I realized what I didn't know, and I realized there was a lot of it. And so when I went to ASTE for the first time, I had no interest in management or ownership classes. I thought all that stuff was silly and I wouldn't learn anything in the first place, right? I was like, nah, this is not for me. I don't have a reason to do this. I'm gonna go and work for somebody else. I'm gonna make more money as a technician. So as a turn of fate, when I walked through the door, the executive director of the show was there, and he reached out and he said, "Hey, I see that you are a business owner, but you're taking technical classes. Can you tell me why?" I told him the same story I just told you. Look, dude, I'm done. I'm out. This sucks. This is miserable. I'm not making any money. I'm not being a dad. I'm not being a husband. I'm not being a good person, period. And it's not because I didn't want to be. It's not because I was a bad person. It's because I was under an immense amount of pressure to make things work, and I had no clue how to make them work. I just thought that's the way it was. And so when I went to this class, the executive director suggested that I take some business classes, and I felt bad saying no. So I took the classes. The first class was by Malin Newton. Now, Malin became a really good friend of mine. We lost him this last year. He is one phenomenal human being. I will miss him forever. But he was telling this story about Disney, and he was talking about the fact that customer service is about how the client feels about us, not how we feel about them. I'm not going to lie to you. I had that backwards, and it seems so stupid and so silly now. But much of what Malin taught, because he taught it around the Disney concept, much of what Malin taught, I implemented into our business today, and it's why we went with this very customer-centric model. It's why we went with this very consumer-driven and employee-driven model, because people matter. And then the next class I sat in was Rick White's. Now, you've heard me say this exact phrase on the podcast time and time again. But the phrase is, Rick walked to the front of the class and he said, "I know you don't feel like you have the time to be here. I know you don't feel like you have the money to be here. I know you're frustrated with sitting here and listening to me talk about this. But I promise if you'll sit here for 15 minutes and listen to me, I can provide you some tools that will make your life better." I left that class realizing I had no clue about business ownership. I woke up, I realized that there was a better way to do it. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Now at the time I didn't necessarily acknowledge that. I'm not going to lie to you, this didn't happen overnight. But I realized that there was something wrong with my business. And it was staring back at me in the mirror. Now, I left that event. And on the way home, we stopped to get food. And I pulled my phone out and I started searching for auto repair shop groups on Facebook. Now, I'd been in some diesel groups and some other stuff, and that's when I found the Auto Shop Owners Group, or ASOG, on Facebook. I posted a question that was extremely stupid, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm embarrassed to even think about some of the questions I asked early on. And everyone ragged me. They all gave me such a hard time. Now, you guys will notice when I'm moderating in the groups, I am a little finicky about that. And I always try to stand up and shut some of the trolling and some of the fussing and complaining down. And it's because I recognize that had David Roman not sent me a Facebook message saying, hey, don't listen to those guys, I'll do what I can to help you, I probably would have given up. I probably would not have continued to push. And so I don't want us defeating human beings who are looking for help and asking for help because we're mean to them or we're picking on them, right? This is not a good old boys club. We take care of one another. And so David reaches out to me and he said, hey, let me help you. Let me give you some perspective. Let me give you some stuff. And I didn't know it at the time. He was coaching with a coaching organization, and he was just sharing the knowledge he was gaining from them with me and showing me some basics, because David had been a manager in a business and he had way more experience and way more knowledge than I did. And so David began to share that with me. And eventually he came to me and said, hey, you probably need to hire a coach. I think this is beyond what I can help you with. And at that point, I hired Rick White to be my business coach. And the rest is history, right? Like at the time we were in 3 bays. We were doing like barely $14,000 a month. I had to be the big dog. I had this huge ego that it was like, well, it's my business. It's not my name on the door. And it really matters how I feel and what I think and what I'm doing. And I've got to be the best in the shop. And so that was not that many years ago, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And I just want to tell you that if it wasn't for that group of people, my life would be a giant mess today. That group of people changed my life forever. The group of people in ASOG, the group of people at ASTA, it was IGONC at the time, the group of people at ASTE or the Expo, we call it the ASTA Expo now. Those people forever changed my life. They forever changed my perspective. They forever created in me an opportunity that I never would have had, right? The business would not be here if it wasn't for that. And so when I think back about that, you guys just don't understand how appreciative I am of those opportunities. Now, since then, ASTA, the Automotive Service and Tire Alliance here in North Carolina, we have events all over the state. We have the Expo. We have Fueling Connections. We have gatherings, social gatherings. We have groups of shop owners that help other shop owners improve their businesses and make their lives better. And we have a team of people who all at their own volition, these are volunteers who go out and help other businesses just to help. And the big reason that we have the podcast, the big reason that I work so hard for these associations, the big reason that I make some of this content, aside from it being a legacy and sharing it with my kids, so if something happens to me, they know what happened. The big reason is I never want anybody to feel like I felt, because that sucks. And you feel like you're all alone. And so if I can implore you to do one thing, if you are an auto repair shop owner and you are struggling, even if you don't think you're struggling, I want you to do a serious self-check on this. And I want you to consider coming to an event like the ASTA Expo this year, because it will change your life. You know, we were in 3 bays when I went to that event, and I'm in 10 bays now. We were doing $14,000 a month. I'm doing $200,000 plus a month now. I don't want to tell you I've got it figured out. And anybody who tells you that they've got it figured out, they're lying to you. There's times I have financial struggles. There's times I have employee struggles. There's times I have emotional and mental health struggles, right? Like that's part of being human. That's part of being on this planet with us. Andy Andrews says that you're either going into a crisis, in a crisis, or coming out of a crisis. That's part of being human. So I don't want you to think that attending an event like this is somehow admitting defeat, somehow saying that I don't have it together. This is about making your life better. This is about being better for your family. This is about serving your family. This is about serving your employees. This is about serving your clients. Heck, this is about making the world a better place. So drop the link down below. You guys come hang out with us at the ASTA Expo this year. We'd love to see you there.